Welcome to the Leadership with Biana Kovic Show, and thank you for being with us. Our topic, leadership, focuses on leaders such as yourselves. We believe that leadership is a skill that can be learned through practice and awareness. It is our hope that our conversation will help you become more reflective when it comes to your own leadership practices and enable you to leave a positive legacy. Our very special guest tonight is Sara Yusupov. Sara is a radio talk show host of the Let's Talk Careers with Sara on Armed Global Radio. Sara is also a widely sought after speaker, trainer, and a coach with a thriving coaching and consulting business, as well as the HR executive at UDN's Staffing Solutions. Sara, good evening and welcome to the show.
Good evening.
Sara, in addition to having a successful radio show, you're also a career coach and a trainer, as well as the HR executive at UDN's Staffing Solutions. Can you tell us more about what led you to these career opportunities?
What led me to this career is that I felt that a lot of people who are seeking to work do not know how to navigate themselves for their career path.
You said that a lot of people don't know how to navigate the career path. I'm curious to learn how does it all start.
It all starts with a resume. And even though it's an assumption and a myth that everybody knows how to write a resume, some people don't know how to do that.
So how does one write a good resume?
The resume needs to stand out from the rest. The way I make it stand out is giving a title next to your name. So assuming you're a nurse, so I'm putting your name and then I put RN next to it. Then I put some graphics to make it look presentable, to make it look compact. I suggest 2 pages is enough, but not more than 2 pages, because if a hiring manager scans the resume for 7 seconds, there is no time to look for 3 pages. It's 2 pages max. And also, the reason I'm saying 2 pages, because since they don't have time to read word by word, but they can have an impression, okay, you are a professional, you write so much, so your written skills are already there. You are communicating in a short sentences, that's already communication skills already there. And then they also look at experience, seeing that all 2 full pages are filled, then you have enough experience to discuss in the interview.
In addition to helping people write resumes, you also do coaching sessions. So I was wondering if you could share with us, what does the coaching session include?
With me, it's approximately 3 to 5 sessions. I have a client who has done a resume with me and followed the instructions on how to submit the resumes. So I'm coaching how to follow up, what to say in the email, what to say on the phone. And then I'm coaching about doing interview sessions. So that way we're doing like a role play one-on-one, doing it through the phone, doing it through meetings, because interviews can be done either way. It can be on the phone, it can be through Skype, it can be through one-on-one in the office. And after doing interview sessions, what to say afterwards, like a thank you letter, thank you email, and what to say after you send a thank you, or what needs to be said and what needs to be asked, in order to have a clear vision if it's worth waiting for that hiring manager to call you or just to move on and keep looking.
As a hiring manager, you interview a lot of people, and I was wondering, what are the most common traits that people who get hired have?
Common traits: those who are confident in themselves, those who show leadership skills. That means that no matter what position you're applying for, but you show that you have those leadership skills, that you can initiate a job that is not yours, that's already good enough. For example, there's a deadline coming up and you have done your part, but you see your colleague is struggling. So when you jump in and help that colleague and train and help and be there to collaborate together so the colleague can also meet the deadline, that already shows you're not just on top of the game, but you're also a team leader, that you can help out as needed, even though it is not your job. Even though there is a manager out there to do that, or a supervisor out there to do that, but you're doing it in a way that is genuine. You don't say, I did my part, that's enough, that's good enough. So this is the trait. It is all shows in the interview, the way the person speaks, the way the person uses language, and how they present themselves. I really can tell if the person is serious about the job or if the person is just trying to impress.
I assume that a lot of people who are using your services have already made a decision that they are actively looking for a change. I was wondering, what kind of advice would you give to people who might start contemplating the change?
I would just say that before starting to change your career, you need to create a list of what you're good at in order for you to work in the field that you can utilize your skills.
After creating a list of what you're good at, what would be the next step to do?
If it's a big company, you'll just go to HR and tell them, I'm happy what I'm doing, but I want to get experience working for you a different department. So they might say, well, think about it. Let's look at your evaluation. Let's look at your attendance. Let's look at your how well you've been doing your work. It takes time. It's a process. Follow up consistently with them. And once the position will be available, instead of hiring somebody from the outside, they will just hire you because it's cost effective. They will not pay a higher salary. They will just hire you and have you do the job.
So, Sarah, what you're saying is instead of looking outside of your organization, try to stay within and move up the ladder or move into a different department so that you can start utilizing your skills.
Yes. However, if you feel that they do not give you the opportunity and you see they hire somebody else, I would not suggest to continue following up with them. Just start looking outside and ask for entry-level position or any position that is requiring at least 1 year of experience. And when I say a year of experience, it doesn't have to be working for somebody for 1 year. It has to be doing what you do for 1 year. So even if you're doing it for yourself, you've been active on social media, let's say for 5 years, that's already 5 years experience. It's not because you were working for yourself, you were doing it for yourself. It's just because you know how to do it.
That is a very interesting distinction. So what you're saying is it is not how long you've been paid to do something, but it's rather how long you've been doing something. So for example, if you have worked in social media on your own and you've been active on Twitter, that is a skill that you gain by doing that and not necessarily being paid for it. Am I right about that?
Yes, and it goes to any career that you want to go for.
Obviously, if you're looking within your company, they would have your job description and would be possibly open to learning about your skills and how you can transfer these new skills that you have gained outside the company to a new role. My question is, when you're looking outside your company, how do you combine the two so that there is no conflict down the road when they actually are calling in the former company to inquire about your job duties?
There are different ways of writing resumes. You can mention that in the highlighted skills, or you can mention that in the work experience. When I do work experience, for example, let's say a person was doing the same thing for different companies. One title was secretary, another one was personal assistant, another one was the title of executive assistant, right? All of these are the same job description, but different titles. What I suggest is just creating a title that fits for the person and then write all the skills, all the duties and responsibilities that the person did. And then at the bottom, I write all the jobs that you worked at in the years. So there are different ways of writing a resume. It depends on which job you're applying for and what you want to convey.
Can you share a success story about a client who was able to transition from one job to another?
Yes, he was self-employed. He was working all his life for himself. And now he moved to a different state. He closed down all his businesses that he had, and he was looking for a job. I highlighted his skills of leadership because he knows how to manage, how to hire, how to price every item. So I gave him a title. of a business developer because he knows how to run a business. He can be out there helping businesses to develop a much better way. So that person got a job. He wanted to be in sales. He got a job as a sales manager, and he's doing fine now, and he's doing on the side real estate.
That is truly a great story because you were able to capture his talents and his skills and what he did as a business owner and package in a way for the new employer to see it, recognize it, and offer the job.
Yes.
My next question is about employees' retention. How can one ensure that employees will feel appreciated and satisfied at work and will not start looking?
Employees want to be recognized. And it's not just to give a bonus. I understand a lot of HR, a lot of companies do not want to go that route to give bonuses and raise. I'm from New York, so I know a lot of what HR are out there like not doing for their employees. It's not about the money. So employees want to be recognized either through having appreciation day for the employees, giving them a coupon for a restaurant, or have a party when they have a holiday coming up, something for them to be appreciated and to be motivated. There are some companies out there, unfortunately, they don't see that. They feel that I'm doing the job, paying what the employee agreed to, and that's it. No other perks for them like to be motivated.
One way to stay motivated on the job is to be given a raise. And prior to this interview, we talked about the best ways to negotiate the raise. I was wondering if you could please share your thoughts with us.
Before asking for a raise, the candidate should already understand what is his value for the company. I'll give you a scenario of my own. I have a master's degree, but I was doing a job that didn't require a master's degree. So when it came to inspection, they used me as a director on paper, but a manager officially. So I sent an email to HR, I sent an email to my boss, and within 24 hours, I was granted a raise. You need to write down the value, why you should get a raise, what they can do without you, right? If they lose you, can they replace you right away, or it's going to take them time? If it's going to take them time, then they know you are very valuable. They don't want to lose you. And I've seen a lot of times that people have the skill of knowing how to communicate the value that you have for the company. So let's say you're a salesperson and you are closing deals more than your colleagues. So they know if they are going to lose you, they are losing the business as well. So by creating the value, say, listen, I am closing deals 100% more than the rest of the colleagues. I believe I deserve a better compensation. They can raise a bonus or they can raise your base rate. So it all depends. And I've seen it happen. But if you don't ask, it will never happen.
Can you give us an example of an employee not getting a raise?
I had an employee who has been working for the company for 10 years, and she never asked for a raise, and they will just not give it to her. It's just you have to ask, even though you think you worked for several years and they should give you a raise. They don't have time to look which employee worked what. They are all busy of getting the business done. And the assumption is, okay, if you don't ask, that means you're okay with a rate. So you need to ask and tell them, I'm doing X, Y, Z much better than what I'm supposed to. So I believe I'm supposed to be compensated. And you have to say the rate, how much you want to get paid for. If you want $10,000 extra in your yearly rate, they can negotiate around that number. If you don't say anything, they don't know how much you want.
So what I'm hearing is first get the job, then establish yourself at the job by doing a good job. And if the company is not recognizing your work nor mentioning a raise, ask openly and be sure to be very specific how you go about that ask. Am I right about that?
Yes.
I know that you also conduct trainings with various organizations, and I was wondering if you could share with us topics that you're usually focusing on when conducting trainings.
The training for HR, for example, it's about how they need to make the employees satisfied, what they need to do in order for them to retain the employees and not lose them out. And for the managers, for example, there are various levels of managers. There are some who just got promoted and some who have been doing it for a while. So being a manager is like how to be a good leader, how to manage your employees, how to make them listen to you, what is exactly your employees want, like for them to be motivated instead of just barking orders and thinking you are the one who needs to demand stuff and not them. It's a two-way communication, so a good manager has to have good communication skills. It's not about how superior you are, it's about how you can make the work done, because without that employee, the work cannot be done. And then it's all on you, like you are not doing the job. Mm-hmm. So I train about how to compensate employees in a much better way, how to make them happy, how to connect with them so they know that you are a good manager that I want to work for, because if I go anywhere else, I'm not going to find a good manager like that. It's all about employee retention.
Would you say that good managers are also great leaders?
Some, not all. It depends. If the person just got promoted, for him, he was a colleague, now he's his supervisor. So it takes time to learn what the boundaries are.
So what would you say are the traits of a successful leader?
A successful leader has a good communication skills that can communicate in a way that will make the employee want to do the job, to be caring about another employee, knowing that if the employee had a problem at home, knowing how to address it and explain like, listen, I know what's going on at home, but let's keep the job going because we have a deadline to meet. And a good manager is also somebody who can be inspired, so other people will want to follow him and become just like him, to be like a role model.
And what are the ways that leaders can create a welcoming environment for their employees?
To be appreciative for all they do, to be flexible with the employee, to have an open door policy. When they want to say something, they can come to the office and just say whatever they have to say, and the manager just can address it and explain it in a better way. If there's a conflict between employees, so the manager can just know how to solve the problem without them being resentful later on.
Would you say that a good manager is someone who is highly intuitive, curious, problem solver, and creative?
Yes.
Part of managing teams is also creating an environment where every single team member is feeling successful, understood, accepted, and appreciated for making a contribution. Do you think that it's leaders' responsibility to create that environment for each team member, or that it's team members' responsibility to create that environment for themselves?
I think the manager has to work on that, because if the team is not together, then he has a problem getting the things done. So when everyone is working together, they are motivated to do the job and they want to get promoted eventually and get to be a manager as well one day. So I think it's better for the manager to inspire and motivate and make them want to do the job together.
Any thoughts on a conflict in a workplace, Sara?
I'll just tell you an example. So when I was 19 years old, I was catering manager. And the employees that were working with me were adults, like 50s, 45 maybe. And for them to see a 19-year-old being their manager, their supervisor, was kind of like a turnoff, thinking like, what a little girl is going to tell me what to do. So there was a conflict that they did not want to listen. They just spoke in their own language. And it felt like something that is not right. So for me to have leadership skills on how to solve a problem, I didn't have that. But I knew there is no point of causing any commotion because it's not going to solve, it's going to make me look bad. So the general manager saw the problem and she addressed it right away. And she asked each one, like, what is the problem with me? and they said, I'm too young to be their manager. For them, it's just not right. And she would say, well, this is the person I hired, and you should respect that. So the way she was handling it, it wasn't like a one-time thing. She would constantly ask, okay, how was the day, how it went, working with her, what happened when I wasn't there, how things went. Like she would constantly follow up to see how are we working together.
Mm-hmm.
So this conflict happens a lot of times in different places. Just I want to see a young person already being in a position that you always dreamed to be, but they need to be inspired and to do whatever it takes to be whoever they want to be.
So, what would be the ways to manage your emotions under the pressure? Because obviously, conflict creates pressure, and then pressure triggers the emotions that could get in the way of people doing their jobs.
I would address it right away with a person that is bothering you and say, listen, let's talk one-on-one. Like an open conversation. Nobody else is involved. It's just this person and me. So if this person doesn't feel to converse with me, doesn't feel like to talk to me, then I would have to just address it with a manager, my superior supervisor, or I'll just go to HR and explain the situation. But majority of the time it works, one-on-one conversation. Mm-hmm. And they feel more welcomed like that. They feel like, okay, she's a good person. I can talk to her. We don't have to be friends, but I can work with her. She's not harming me. She's not causing me anything, but I'm okay just to get the job done. So a lot of times one-on-one is the first thing to do. And if it doesn't work, talk to different people in the department. But not to spread out with other colleagues. This is the bad outrage. It's like they need to actually talk only to the superiors.
So what I'm hearing, talk to the people that are obviously not feeling comfortable with your leadership style. Talk to your supervisor. If need be, talk to HR. But do not gossip about what's going on.
Yes.
So obviously, part of leadership is delegating responsibilities. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think that delegating is much easier for the managers because there's a lot of things that needs to be done and we don't have much time in a day to accomplish stuff. So by using the employees that we have is the best way to do. At work, a lot of things can be just delegated. Some people like that. They like that, oh, I'm getting additional responsibilities because probably this is what I need to learn. But some people don't like it, but there's no other way to do it. As a team player, we all need to do the job in order for the manager to look good. And when you make the manager look good, the manager will like you and might, help you in getting promoted.
So how do you incentivize employees that are not excited about, getting additional responsibilities?
Maybe to have a meeting with all the staff and voice out what they don't like about delegation and why they don't like additional responsibilities and how they can team up with each other in order for them to split the work so it doesn't overwhelm them.
So splitting work equally among all employees and team members might actually heal the situation and help out the situation.
Yes.
Part of the leadership and management practices is also having a multiple priorities. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's important every day to set up priorities. One will be like when you start the job, take 30 minutes on working what needs to be done for the day, or you can have it done at the end of the day for the next day, what needs to be done. So setting priorities is very important because if the deadline is passed and you still didn't do it, that already shows you are not managing your time properly. So it's very important to prioritize everything that needs to be done first.
Many companies nowadays are managing employees remotely. What would be your advice about successfully managing employees who are working from different locations?
I think there are apps that they can use. One of them is just called CRM, and the CRM helps to see the work of others. It's not only about clients, how to communicate with them, but it's also how to communicate with employees. When you are giving an assignment to someone that is working remotely, you will be able to see how much of the work is done already. You're sharing the same work, and you are able to see if it was done or not. And if it wasn't done, then I need to communicate via email or phone and find out why this is not updated, how long is the assignment takes in order for it to be done on time.
Some managers struggle with low performing teams. What are your thoughts on that?
Low performing teams need to be trained more. It's a lot of communication, a lot of meetings to be done to hear the voices and find out why they're performing low, like what is holding them back in order to accomplish an assignment. Is it too hard? Is it not motivating? Is it something that they don't like? Like they need to voice out what is the problem. There is a reason why they're performing low, and they need to say why.
Would you say that the leader is not giving enough attention to the low performing team, or that low performing team is just performing badly?
I think the leader is just neglecting to see the problem, why this team is performing low.
Any thoughts on competition among teams?
I think it's one way to get motivated. I think it's good because teams work better when they feel that they are better than anyone else. So a competition is one of the ways to be motivated.
While working their way up, some leaders have heavily relied on role models and mentors. Did you have any role models or mentors who helped you along the way?
I did have a role model. For every job that I was doing, I was looking for a role model. Mm-hmm. And for me, a role model is someone who is communicating professionally at the times that is pressured and sometimes when there is a problem. So the person knows how to communicate professionally and respectfully without being contradicted with whatever the person says. Mm-hmm. Also, I like the fact that the person is being very sharp, meaning that the person knows what he's saying, what he is doing, never misses deadlines, even though there's like gazillions of deadlines, and the person knows exactly the dates and the times. The person is very organized. So when I see that, for me, it's wow. Like for me, I need to write down everything. Mm-hmm. If I don't write it down, I'm going to forget. And the managers that I was looking up to, they really had that mental note that they could play it over and over and over and never forget that. So that's what I looked. And also a lot of employees respected the manager. Mm-hmm. And I just saw like what is the manager doing to gain that respect. It's all about communication, how the person approaches the employee and says how you're feeling, how's your family. Trying to connect 5 minutes a day about their personal life and then moving back to work. So the person feels, oh, I'm cared for. I am recognized that I actually do something. And also the person was giving a lot of praises for the employees. Praises like saying, wow, it's a good job that you did. I'm so impressed. I'm so proud of you. You've come a long way since you started to work here. Mm-hmm. So this is something that the person feels good about himself.
What I'm hearing is being a generous and caring leader and a mentor goes along the way because you're truly showing interest in your employees' and mentees' lives.
Yes.
Do you think that every leader needs a mentor?
I believe that yes, because there are some successful leaders out there who have become who they are now because of their mentors. So a mentor can guide you to become better, to become more efficient, and to coach you to be successful. And that way you can help others to become also a leader just like you are.
You are a leader who is coaching other leaders to be better leaders. And I was wondering, how do you go about evaluating your own leadership style and effectiveness with clients and organizations that you're working with?
So when I have a session or a workshop, I just do a lot of not formative assessment, like asking questions around what do they feel that is challenging for them. And based on their answers, I can just work on giving them solutions. So for me, when I give solutions and it doesn't work, then I am assessing myself and saying what I am saying or what I'm doing that is not successful. And is there a different strategy for me to use in order for it to work? For example, having employees, let's say you do the work of encouraging them, you're giving praises, you are caring, right? Mm-hmm. And it still doesn't work and the employee still performs low. So there might be a different strategy to use for the person to be motivated. Maybe there's something going on at home that maybe he needs a time off in order to get rejuvenated and coming back. So it's all about thinking about what is it that causes the problem and how can it be solved. If problem A isn't solved this way, then it has to be done differently. Maybe the person needs assistance. Maybe the person needs somebody else to help him out.
Then would you say that we have to constantly be innovative how we incentivize our employees and stay curious how we can help our employees so that our input will make a difference?
Yes.
I used to work for the company that provided leadership trainings only for the executive level team. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's not only for executives because there are so many leaders out there that have different titles. So a supervisor, for example, he's a leader for his own department. A manager, he's a leader of his own sector. It's for everybody. It's not just for executives. I feel executives need a different training, not similar to what other managers are getting. And it's all about how to make the business work, not just for the clients, but also for the other employees. It takes a lot of time of developing a criteria on how to create that type of work environment. And it's really hard to explain. It all depends on the situation, what they are lacking in order for them to succeed.
But what essentially you're also saying is that spread the wealth. So allow everyone, even though the person is a manager or maybe a frontline worker, allow him or her to have an access to the leadership training so that essentially they would do their job better.
Yes.
Not just keep it for a selected few.
Right, because everybody wants to get promoted.
Right, everyone wants to move up.
What, It's not about their title, it's about what they want to be better. They want to learn new things. They just want to go up the ladder.
What are the signs, in your opinion, that someone should start looking for a new job?
Basically, if the person, whatever the candidate wants in a job and they don't offer after all communications with the manager, with the HR, I'll give you a scenario. There is a person who is doing a job very well for 5 years. And the person is asking for a raise. The manager says there is no budget. In the meantime, the colleague that she hears about got a raise. And she would just think, why I've been told that there is no budget, but in the meantime, that person got a raise. So if the person sees that they are not actually accommodating, they don't want to listen, they just feel like favoritism or something like that, I would just say, you know what, don't even bother working for the rest of the year. Start looking now elsewhere. So that's the number one thing. And also other ways to know when to look is when you see that you're not treating well, that the managers are not nice to you, they are really don't appreciate your work, they favor some other colleague that you believe is not really competent with you. So it's time to just look for a different environment to work, because this environment will just eat you up every single day and you will just start hating the work and you will show it to everyone.
Would you say that if environment is not conducive to your growth and is not supporting your work, not recognizing it, that you just have to move on?
Yes.
So what advice do you have for women leaders? Any suggestions?
I feel that women should not be intimidated when they see they have a colleague who is a male and is the one who is getting all the work. So I feel women should be voicing their thoughts out without being shy about it. And they should really approach and know their worth. I would just say, if you feel something that is not right, that you've been treated differently than your male colleague, you just need to approach right away with the manager. Don't wait for a year to happen. Just approach it right away to the manager, to HR, and say, listen, this is what I see, and I believe I am worth this much. I'll tell you this, for male, when they go for an interview, they know how to negotiate their salaries on the spot. So let's say the job offers 50, they can say, I think I'm worth 55,000 a year. For women, for example, they say the salary is 50,000, for example. They say, okay, they don't even negotiate and say, listen, I think I deserve more. So that's why it happens that male get more of their salary because they know how to negotiate on the spot with their own business. It's not about just getting the job.
So, Sarah, are you advising people to negotiate immediately their salaries?
Yes, yes, because I'll tell you, I have a HR recruiter who had told me I'm looking for a candidate for $50 an hour or 52, but I'm willing to negotiate if they want it higher. Now, I don't tell that to a candidate that I am looking for because it's their job to know if they want the salary or not. But immediately, I think because the job is very hard to find a candidate for, then this is the moment that you can utilize and manipulate it, and ask for more. So this is, I feel like everybody should ask for a better salary on the spot. Even though it's your dream salary, let's say 75,000, still negotiate for 78 or 80.
So don't be afraid that employee might drop you because you're asking for more.
Yes, and there are a lot of suggestions saying that don't talk about salary on your first interview.
Mm-hmm.
I say it's wrong because you should ask so you don't waste time. So imagine they call you for a second, third interview, and then they tell you, okay, you're hired, and they give you a salary that you never thought, it's that low. It's already too late to say, no, I'm not interested, because think about how much time you spent about this job. So ask on the spot. At the end of the interview, when they ask you, do you have any questions? You say, yes, I would like to know the salary range of this position that is offered. And that's it. And based on that, you can know if it's worth it or not to move on with the interviews.
So what I'm hearing is be assertive and don't be afraid to voice your opinion if need be.
Yes.
Tonight we talked a lot about HR and leadership, and I was wondering, how does HR choose the next leader for their organization?
The hiring manager looks basically on credentials of the leader, and mainly for any leadership position, it's master's degree or above. That position is usually demonstrates how the person has problem solving skills, time management skills, how the person can manage other employees in order to get the deadline done, and how the person is serious about the job, meaning that the person can come to work on time and will be able to stay a little bit longer.
Do you feel that leadership positions that are out there are flexible in terms of the hours, monetary compensations, and other things?
The positions seem to be lucrative, can be a little bit flexible only if there is a clear communication with HR.
So what you're saying to us is the organization chooses the leader based on the experience, based on the capability of the candidate, based on his or her flexibility towards the work, and also based on the background and education.
Yeah.
A lot of people nowadays are working in exempt roles, meaning if you're staying longer at work, you don't get paid overtime. So what are your thoughts? How can one negotiate a better deal if your role is considered an exempt one?
If the person shows after 90 days of probation shows a clear work that exactly what they are looking for, that you meet deadlines, you're coming on time, you have problem solving skills, you have whatever that they want, you are exceeding their expectations. So maybe at the end of the year of your anniversary, there is an option to discuss about more time off or more sick days or more personal days, because this is just what you're doing is fine, but then it's killing you slowly, your energy, your ambition, because I'm sure every leader will want to become better at everything. So if you're just doing the same thing in a position that it drains you, then you will not be able to have that dream that you wanted to accomplish.
So this actually leads me to my next question, which is how can one create a balance between your personal and work life?
So before accepting a job, first find out what are the hours, what's the shift is. If it's going to ask you to stay a little bit more than 8 hours, then be prepared to know exactly what to expect in your personal life. If you feel that the shift doesn't work for you and it's going to interfere with your personal life, then it's best not to accept the position and then just keep looking for a position that will give you a flexible schedule.
Any thoughts on generosity and leadership?
Yes, I think that leaders have to be a little bit sensitive to their employees with their requests. So, for example, if an employee is asking you for an extra personal day or they need to come a little bit later the next day because they stay longer today, then when you say, okay, yes, why not? You're showing that you care about them. You are generous with your request. Obviously, not so many times, but when you are generous, then they are more motivated to work for you and do the job efficiently. So the quality of the work is much better when you are actually treating your employees nicely.
Do you think that great leaders are effective communicators?
I think yes, because in order to be a leader, you need to have people understand your instructions. And the communication doesn't need to be only verbal, it can be also in email, in a text, and it can be repeated several times because, employees, not everybody speaks English very well, and they might interpret whatever you say in a different way. So, by communicating in a way that you understand that the employee understood, and if the employee didn't understand, it's your responsibility as a leader to communicate in a way that employee will understand. And that is the only way that the job will get done. So the employees who follow your instructions, they do it because they understand your way of communicating with them.
Prior to this show, we talked about the importance of being culturally aware and culturally sensitive. Can you share your thoughts on how this cultural sensitivity and awareness impacts one's leadership?
As a leader, it's very important that you understand not everybody's culture, but as much as you can about their culture because they all come from different backgrounds, different ways of handling situations. So, an example could be shaking hands. Not everyone feels that it's okay to shake hands. It's kind of seems disrespectful. Some view it not the same way that as a leader in America would actually view it. So for us could be it's a handshake. It's nothing wrong with that. It's just a way of doing business. But for employees, or not even just employees, it can be your colleagues, it can be your clients, it can be anybody that is not like you. They have different views of greetings. So same thing goes with hugging. Not everyone likes to be hugged, and it can be for various reasons. But it's very important to learn different cultures, what they like, what is considered respectful for them, and what it's not considered respectful. So it's very important to spend a little bit more time, do your homework, learning about different types of cultures. So if you have Asian employees, so learn more about Asian culture. If you have more about African American employees, even though you assume that you know, but there are some backgrounds out there that they don't really appreciate. So it's better to just do your homework and learn more about who is your majority in your work that you are working with.
So what you're saying to us, knowing the culture really improves your way of communication and makes it more smooth in terms of working with others.
Yes, the relationship grows as well once they see that you know and you understand and respect. So the relationship grows even better. Learning other cultures improves relationships.
Sometimes, as a leader, you will face the project, circumstances, and situations that don't go well. What are your thoughts on taking responsibilities as a leader to acknowledge where you have failed or where you have not provided a good guidance for your team in order to be successful about the goals that you guys were all working towards? And how does that ultimately impact your own leadership?
Sometimes happens that when you are instructing someone to do a job and it goes not well, because probably it's because of you as a leader didn't say it the way that sounded right, or to have a different perception about the instruction. But even though it's as a team work, it's whoever has failed, it's a team's failure. It's not just a one person's failure. That way, everyone can learn from mistakes. So if you as a leader have failed, it's okay to admit and say, I failed, and next time I will do it differently and I'll do it better.
I know that you're training people on brands, and I was wondering, how do leaders work on creating brands that will be memorable and will stand out, and they would ultimately be able to help their organizations monetize them?
Leaders are the ones who are representing the company. So if the company has a very good name that everyone knows about that company, assuming that it's on all over social media and it's on press, if possible on the radio or on the TV, the leader has to be active on self-publicizing himself or herself. It could be on Facebook. It depends which audience is more appealing to that leader. So if it's about business, most of the businesses are on Facebook, and they are also on Twitter, and some of them are on Instagram. And I do believe that not all social media are for everyone, and that's why some don't have all the social media out there. But it's good to have as a personal brand, because you never know who is out there is looking for that particular company or is looking for that particular service. And this could be something that could be implemented on your own without having anybody else doing it for you. And if you are on LinkedIn and you are writing articles in particular about your role in a company, let's say for HR executive that is writing an article about employees or about how to have benefits for employees, so other CEOs can see what's out there, what this company is doing better than them. By that, people will follow that leader and say, I want to learn more about this person, about more the content that the person shares, and that way you build followers. And when you have more followers, assuming 10,000 and more, then people might see you as credible leader that is worth listening because you have 10,000 followers. I just threw a number. It could be any number above 10,000.
So what you're saying is writing an article can get you a long way.
Yes.
So how does media affect nowadays leadership?
Media is very aggressive right now, and people are just looking to become followers of a leader that they can emulate. Now that we speak about leaders, as a leader, you are looking for followers on social media, and you want, of course, to go beyond that, but be mindful about what you say and how you represent yourself. And there are some leaders who are not a good example, in my opinion, and there are who are a good example. So when you see somebody that you are feeling that this person is actually showing the right characters of a leadership, then try to become one like that, because you are going to have followers who are going to look up to you.
Any final thoughts?
I just want to say that before any leader becomes a leader, he needs to land a job that will promote him to be a great person that he wants to be. And it all starts with a resume. When a resume looks like you are applying for the job, so let's say you are applying for an executive position, the resume needs to look like an executive resume. not like a regular resume, because you want to stand out than the rest out there. And if you want to be part of the executives, then you have to look like them in terms of a resume. The same language, the same look, the same vocabulary, and the same skills. So if you feel that it's something challenging and it's very hard to do for you, then hire a resume writer, and or you can hire me, because I do resume writing services for executives who are trying to land a job or who are already landing a job and looking to moving forward, moving for a higher position. And if you need help with interview sessions, you can reach out to me as well. You can email me at let's talk careers with Sarah at gmail.com, or you can go to my Facebook page, Let's Talk Careers, and my group, Let's Talk Careers Inner Circle. And that way we can communicate and see what other members are saying while you post your questions and you need help with, because that group, the Inner Circle, is all about supporting each other in order to succeed.
So again, people can get in contact with you.
They can email me, Let's Talk Careers with Sarah at gmail.com, and they can find me on Facebook, Let's Talk Careers with Sarah, and they can join my group, Let's Talk Careers Inner Circle.
Thank you very much, Sara.
Thank you, Biana, for having me on this show. Thank you very much.
If you have not done so already, please tune in and listen to Sarah's show on Wednesday evening at 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on ARM Radio Global. Or if you have any questions, email Sarah at letstalkcareerswithsarah at gmail.com.
Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Leadership with Biana Kovic Show. Remember that you're all leaders in your own rights, and the impact that you're meant to achieve starts with small acts of kindness, curiosity, and generosity. Please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you again, and until next time.